Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu salam ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from the 40 principles of the religion, Al-Arba'in Usul by Imam Al-Ghazali, rahimahullah. And we are still in the it would be the 22nd principle. This is it will be the second principle of the third part of the Arba'in. So practically a little bit more than halfway. And we have been dealing with Sharah al-Kalam, loquaciousness. We continue reading on just slightly above the subtitle on some of the rulings on lying. We have reached the in our reading the very last time, the following paragraph. That the Prophet ﷺ said, "Shall I not teach you about the greatest of major sins? Ascribing a partner to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and disobeying parents." He was leaning back, then he sat up and said, "And speaking falsehood." It's pretty much falsehood. Sometimes when we talk about fake news today, that's really qawl zur. And this hadith is muttafaq alayh, narrated by Bukhari and Muslim. Now to the subtitle on some of the rulings on lying. تفصيل أحكام الكذب. Know that lying is unlawful in regards to everything except a dire need, to the extent that a woman once said to her small son, Come here, so I can give you something. The Prophet ﷺ said to her, what were you going to give him if he came to you? She said, a date, like the fruit, a date. He replied, the Prophet ﷺ, if you had not done so, it would have been written against you as a lie. كتبت عليك كذبة. أما لو لم تفعلي لكتبت عليك كذبة. That one should always say the truth. You should never deceive neither children really nor adults. Don't promise something that you know that you are not going to fulfill. Just don't add to when we deal with children or when we deal with adults, one should not really make not only false promises, just promises that you will not fulfill. A person should be aware of lying, even in his imagination and inner thoughts. And that's a beautiful thing. One should remain faithful, saying the truth, until he is really until he becomes really in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala truthful. And the other way around is the same. One would continue to lie until he is written as a liar. So a person should be aware of lying even in his imagination and inner thoughts. Indeed, this establishes a image in the consciousness. Until even a person's dream lie and the secrets of the spiritual realm are not revealed to him in his sleep. Experience bears witness to this. Of course, a lie is permitted. Definitely not on April 1st or Fool's Day, as they call it. That's not what is meant here. It is really, and Imam Ghazali explains it. Of course, a lie is permitted if the truth would lead to another prohibited thing that is worse than lying. So you have an option of either you lie or somebody will get killed. Lying is bad, but a human life being wasted should be the like the preservation of this soul should be the priority. So do lie in this case. I mean, then it is permissible, just as eating a carcass is permissible if leaving it leads to something prohibited that is worse than eating it, which is the soul perishing. This is why it's permissible to eat that which is haram if you are lost in a jungle or it's the preservation of life. One of the aims, the maqasid of the Sharia. Kulthum, radiallahu anha, so Kulthum, she's the daughter of Uqba bin Abi Mu'ayt, to distinguish her from the uh, the uh, the others, really. She said, Allah's Messenger did not permit lying about anything except three matters: a man saying something with the intent of reconciliation, a man saying something in war, and a man talking to his wife. And this hadith, which is narrated by Kulthum, again, the daughter of Uqba bin Abi Mu'ayt, one might be tempted to think that this is Kulthum, the daughter of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this hadith is narrated by Muslim. War, it does include deception. That's one thing. A man talking to his wife, telling her that she's the most beautiful person in the world, when he knows that she is not. Okay? It could be the other way around. Telling him that he's the most generous or the most courageous, or when she knows that he's not. And the man intending to reconcile, for example, to reconcile a husband and wife who have serious issues. might be on the almost there, divorcing, or and they have been separated, not divorced. She goes to her family's house, and she stays there, and he reaches out to somebody, and this person intends to make peace between them, reconcile them. He goes to her and he mentions, he asks her. Usually, people would ask in this case when they complain, whether uh, him or her, uh, they might say something negative, but at the same time, you might ask because you would want uh, to reconcile them. You might ask a question like, uh, "Did he ever do anything good? Is he generous? Is he kind? Is he?" Then you take this positive thing and you just go to him and you tell him, "This is what she says about you," and you don't mention the negative points, and you extract something good from him about her, and you just shuttle between both sides. That's the real reconciliation, even if it does include, something you might even just on purpose. You just spice it a little bit, maybe. If he had done something wrong, you might say he regretted this, and he wants you back, and he promises to change his course and his behavior, and to make peace really between both, and still at the same time really maybe also saying a word or two about his behavior, not to her but to him. So this hadith is sound, narrated by Muslim. Imam Ghazali explains, this is because if an enemy were to find out about the secrets of war, he would prosecute more boldly. If a woman were aware of the secrets of her husband, a corruption greater than the corruption of lying would result. Likewise, disputants between whom there is constant conflict and enmity, if reconciliation is possible by lying, then that is more appropriate. This is what is related in the report. Similar, similar to it is a person lying to protect another's wealth from an oppressor, or denying another's secret, and even denying his own disobedience. For indeed, publicizing and speaking openly about sin is forbidden. Also, denying his treachery to another in order to gladden his heart, and likewise denying to one wife that her co wife is more beloved to him. Denying to one wife, yes, which, in other words, the one right in front of you, you just say that she is the most beloved one, or lying is not permissible to bring about greater wealth or status, which is what most people lie for. Furthermore, if a person absolutely must lie, then he should equivocate if possible, so that this consciousness does not become habituated to lies. If Ibrahim Nakhai were sought in his home, he would say to his servant, "Tell him, ask for him in the place of worship." And this is, we talk about this is not a lie, really. Okay? This is not a lie. It's about this kind of ma'arid, if you will, saying the truth but not everything, and simply telling somebody that go and check out the mosque for him. Uh, it's not a direct lie, but it depends on the context why you don't want to meet such a person. In the case of Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, most probably he just simply want to be on his own to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wallahu alam. And اطلبه في المسجد will simply mean also when do you go and look for people if they are told that they will be at the mosque, or look for him at the mosque. And it should be the case that at one point one would go to the mosque. Now about Shabi. He used to draw a circle and say to his servant, put your finger inside and say, not here. And simply, not here, the servant is saying not here, meaning inside the circle. But you give the person who's seeking him the impression that he's not here at home. Another used to excuse himself from the commander, saying, since I parted with you, I have not raised my side from the ground except for what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed. Someone else used to deny what he had said by saying, truly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that I did not say any of that, equating negation by the use of ma is a negation, and it could be used for also for questions. And this is really ultimately about the what is described in literature as ma'arid, saying something and you intend something else. Someone else used to deny what he had said by saying, truly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that I did not say any of that, equating negation by use of ma, which signifies either negation or whatever, while intending something else. And this is why truly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that I did not say. It doesn't work like this in the translation. No, in Arabic, it's because the Arabic allows room for two different uses. The English does not. So that translation is one of them, and it betrays the very purpose of this. إن الله تعالى لا يعلم ما قلت من ذلك من شيء. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what whatever I've said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that. But the use of ma here gives the impression, because of the context, that no, God knows that I did not So one meaning is expressed in the translation, the other is not expressed in the translation, and this is really, a problematic translation. Now, for the ma'arid as they are described, equivocation is permissible for a light-hearted purpose, like the Prophet ﷺ saying, "An old woman will not enter paradise." And the reason for this is that all people will be resurrected as young. The people who passed away at an old age, they will ultimately be resurrected as young people. And this explains this statement that an old woman will not enter paradise. It's the very same meaning. لا تدخل الجنة عجوز, because she will be young then. And the other one is نحملك على ولد البعير. We will carry you on the child of a camel. It doesn't mean that you are going to mount a camel that is really very, very small. It means that every adult camel, strong adult camel, is the offspring of another camel, walad. The word child is a bit problematic. And there is whiteness in your husband's eye, he said to the lady companion. And this is really from amongst the examples from amongst the ma'arid. These words suggest something that was not intended, which is permissible. It's permissible to do with women and children to make them feel good by joking. Similarly, a person who is prevented from eating should not lie and say that he does not want any food if he really wants to eat. Rather, he should equivocate. The Prophet ﷺ once said to a woman who made such a remark, "Do not combine lying and hunger." Okay. The Prophet, the original, the longer version, that the Prophet ﷺ was brought food, so he invited. It seems he invited his wives, and they said, "We don't desire food." It could be لا نشتهيه, simply about the references to the definitely to food, but when they say we don't really we don't have appetite really, لا نشتهيه, we don't have appetite. The Prophet ﷺ said, but addressing a group of women, لا تجمعنا جوعا وكذبا. The hadith is the chain of the hadith is good, and do not really join hunger with the Prophet ﷺ knew that they were hungry, and there was no need for them to refrain from at that particular moment to refrain from really sharing that meal. Really, the next ailment of the tongue, of course, is backbiting. Let's go back to the just for a second again. We don't really have appetite. That would be a direct lie if you do have an appetite, especially if they. I mean, the food is there. They know. They see it. They know what it is, and they could be hungry. Rather than saying that you are hungry, if you are hungry really, you may make a reference to the very last time that you ate. It could be right before the meeting, could be early in the morning and your meeting was in the afternoon, whatever is the case. So you can make reference to something specific that will give the impression, but you don't. Your intention is something else. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about backbiting, ولا يغتب بعضكم بعضا أيحب أحدكم أن يأكل لحم أخيه ميتا فكرهتموه. So there should be no gossiping, there should be no negative speech about one another. And then the question is, so do not backbite others. Would one of you like to eat the corpse of his brother? You should desist it. Okay. The Prophet ﷺ said, backbiting is worse than fornication. Backbiting is worse than fornication. This is part of a longer hadith, and it's the chain of narrators is very, very weak. So the Prophet ﷺ said backbiting again. This phrase is part of a longer one, but it's ضعيف جدا. It's very weak. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, whoever dies repenting from backbiting, he will be the last person to enter paradise. Whoever dies persisting in it will be the first person to enter the fire. The Prophet ﷺ said, the night I was taken up, I came across a people who were scratching their faces with their nails. I said, who are they? It was said to me, these are those who committed backbiting against people. Inshallah, we'll start tomorrow from the second ailment. We just read again the verse and and that phrase, and yeah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from engaging in any of the ailments of the tongue. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. Until tomorrow, inshallah.